That is a crime. It is a disgrace. Usually injuries or off-the-field issues force you to plummet, none of which applies to Shedeur Sanders.
Stephen A. Smith just unleashed on Shedeur Sanders. And trust me, it wasn't pretty. Shedeur's NFL journey has been rocky from the jump, but now he's flipping the script by inking a deal outside the league. Stephen A. wasn't having it, calling it straight up a disgrace. And he didn't stop there. He dropped bombshells about what's really been going down behind closed doors with the Sanders family. Here's how it all unraveled. The Instagram Live that shook the entire NFL. Stephen A. has always been blunt, but this clash had millions of viewers glued to their screens. On live video, he went toe-to-toe with Shedeur Sanders, son of Hall of Famer Deion "Primetime" Sanders, grilling him over this controversial new contract. Fans couldn't believe what they were seeing. Now, Shedeur's not just any rookie quarterback chasing a shot. He's carrying the name of one of the loudest, flashiest legends in football history. Scouts once pegged him as a first-rounder, a possible face of the league. But draft night turned sour when he slipped way down the board, leaving fans stunned and analysts questioning everything. Stephen A. himself once warned the league about overlooking him, and that warning just came roaring back like prophecy. Because according to Stephen A., this wasn't just a business decision. It smelled like a setup. He hinted that NFL owners might have quietly teamed up to stall Shedeur's rise, punishing him not for his own talent, but for his father's outspoken ways. That allegation alone had fans' jaws on the floor. So when Shedeur decided to sign outside the NFL, it was like striking a match in a room full of gasoline. Critics rushed to call it reckless. Insiders whispered it was career suicide, but Shedeur saw it as freedom, taking his destiny away from league executives who never wanted him on their terms anyway. And Stephen A. Smith? He wasn't letting that slide. Not on his watch. On that live stream, the heat cranked up quick. You had a veteran media bulldog who thrives on confrontation facing a young quarterback tired of feeling like a puppet for billionaire owners. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Do you realize how heavy that statement really is? This wasn't just about Shedeur. It was about his bloodline, his name, his legacy. His father spent decades poking at the NFL machine, calling out the powers that be, and now the son is the one paying the bill. This ain't just football. This is about power, control, and whether a young black quarterback with skill, confidence, and pedigree will ever be allowed to escape the grip of a system that spit out countless others before him. That's why Stephen A. came at him so hard on IG Live. In his eyes, Shedeur wasn't just signing a contract, he was ripping at the very fabric of the NFL. Stephen A. has never been shy about slamming owners for their double standards, but this time, he turned that same smoke on Shedeur himself, daring him to face the reality of what it means to fight a billion-dollar empire. It was like Stephen A. was warning him, if you want to go to war with the machine, you better be ready for the fallout. And he had receipts too, reminding viewers this is the same league that iced out Colin Kaepernick for kneeling, the same league that still cut each owner a $246 million check while blaming Kaepernick for costing them money. The message couldn't have been louder. The NFL doesn't forgive, and it definitely doesn't forget. But Shedeur didn't flinch. He clapped back, saying he wasn't about to let a room full of owners dictate his destiny when they'd already shown they didn't believe in him. You could feel the frustration in his words, the same frustration his father has carried for years, a mix of pride, pain, and pure defiance. Meanwhile, the live chat was going crazy. Some fans blasted Stephen A. as a hypocrite. Others said Shedeur was flushing his career down the drain. And then a few brave voices said the quiet part out loud. Maybe this is exactly what the NFL fears most. Because if Shedeur actually succeeds outside their system, the whole illusion of their football monopoly crumbles in front of the world. That IG Live wasn't just a convo. It was a generational war on full display. The old guard playing by billionaire rules versus a new wave of athletes ready to gamble it all for independence. What started as a random notification, Stephen A. Smith is live with Shedeur Sanders, turned into a career-defining clash in real time. And the fallout? Instant, viral, and messy as hell. Within minutes, social media went wild. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube flooded with clips, re-uploads, and reaction videos. Hashtags like hashtag Shedeur Sanders, hashtag Stephen A, and hashtag NFLFlex were trending all night long. But it wasn't just the words that shook people. It was the timing. Shedeur had just signed a multi-million-dollar deal completely outside of the NFL's control. This wasn't your average endorsement either. Reports said the deal was tied to media rights, endorsements, and crossover opportunities way beyond football. No rookie in the 5th round had ever seen numbers like this before, and that's exactly what rattled NFL owners. Because if Shedeur proves he doesn't need the league to win, what happens if other players follow the same blueprint? Suddenly, that stranglehold the NFL has over young talent starts to crack wide open. Everyone expected Stephen A to dominate the moment. He's the king of the hot seat after all. But Shedeur? Calm, cool, unshaken. He reminded the world he's been under the spotlight his whole life, from tearing it up at Jackson State to making Colorado football relevant again with his father coaching on the sidelines. Pressure was nothing new to him, and he wasn't about to fold now. So when Stephen A pressed him about running away from the NFL system, Shedeur fired back with a clap that shut the chat down. If the NFL didn't want me, then why should I let them control me? They had their chance. I'm not begging for a seat at their table. I'm building my own. The comments went nuclear. Supporters dropped fire emojis and cheered him on with, "Talk your talk," while haters raged, "You'll regret this." Nobody beats the NFL. By sunrise, every sports outlet was running with the story. Skip Bayless called it the boldest move we've ever seen from a rookie quarterback. Shannon Sharpe compared it to Colin Kaepernick's battle when activism clashed with NFL ownership. ESPN even looped the IG Live clip on repeat every single hour like it was breaking news. But the most chilling response? Anonymous NFL execs whispering to reporters that Shedeur had just burned every bridge in the league and would never play meaningful snaps again. The déjà vu was heavy, because this is the same league that humiliated him on draft night, letting a top 20 talent, praised by Mel Kiper Jr., slide into the later rounds. Even back then, Stephen A said it wasn't about skill, it was politics. And now, by facing Shedeur head-on, Stephen A had dragged the NFL's dirty laundry straight into the spotlight for the world to see. This was never just about Shedeur, it was about his father, Shedeur Sanders. Primetime has always been larger than life. Hall of Fame cornerback, Super Bowl champ, TV showman, and now the college coach who turned Colorado into a nonstop spectacle. NFL owners already couldn't stand how much spotlight he sucked away from them, and now his son was the one catching the blowback. Stephen A connected the dots live on air, saying out loud what executives have been whispering behind closed doors for months. Shedeur wasn't being punished for his game. He was being punished for his bloodline. Think about that. The NFL, a league that loves to sell itself as a meritocracy, being accused of blackballing a young quarterback, not because of his skills, but because his last name carries too much weight. That's not just unfair. That's systemic. And here's where the hypocrisy stings. This same league has bent over backwards for players with DUIs, assault cases, and locker room chaos. Yet Shedeur Sanders, no criminal record, no outbursts, nothing but production on the field, was being painted as the problem. Why? Because his father had the audacity to say he wanted influence over his son's career. That's the double standard in plain sight. Teams will turn a blind eye to arrests, but the minute a father dares to advocate for his son, suddenly, that's too much trouble for billion-dollar franchises. The IG Live replay spread like wildfire, and fans split into camps. Team Shedeur claimed he was breaking chains, pioneering freedom from an NFL machine built to control players, even comparing him to icons in music and business who refused to sell out. Team Stephen A, on the other hand, slammed him for tossing away the prestige of the Shield for fast cash and temporary clout. But the most chilling reaction wasn't from fans at all. It was the silence from the NFL itself. No press release, no official statement, no PR spin to calm the firestorm. That silence was deafening, like the league knew touching this story would only give it more power. and that lack of response sent one message louder than words ever could. By the end of that week, Shedeur Sanders had flipped the script, from overlooked rookie to one of the most talked about names in sports. He did the unthinkable, forced the most powerful league in America into the shadows of a conversation it couldn't control. Stephen A. thought he was putting Shedeur on the hot seat, but what he really did was spotlight the cracks in the NFL's armor, exposing the hate machine for what it truly is. And if you thought the IG Live showdown was the grand finale, you couldn't be more wrong, because what followed was even uglier. A full-blown hate campaign aimed at Shedeur everywhere he turned. Once you dig into why so many people pile on him, a pattern jumps out, and it runs deeper than just football. Let's break it down. First, the silver spoon narrative. Critics love to say Shedeur had it easy, that his father Deion paved every step of the way, from Jackson State to Colorado. They paint him like he never had to grind like other players. But here's the hypocrisy. The NFL has always celebrated dynasties. The Mannings, football royalty, Patrick Mahomes, son of a pro athlete, the Bosa brothers, NFL bloodline darlings, all praised for their pedigree. So why is Shedeur the one branded as a Nepo baby, while others are lifted up as golden heirs? The answer's uncomfortable, because his last name is Sanders, and because Deion has never played by the NFL's unwritten rules of silence and obedience. Then came draft day, his biggest humiliation. Analysts had him locked as a first-rounder, some even ranking him top 20. But instead of hearing his name early, he slid and slid until the late rounds. That wasn't just a fall, it was a free fall. To casual fans watching at home, it looked simple. If he dropped that far, maybe he's not that good. So from the jump, Shedeur was fighting an uphill battle against a storyline the league had practically written for him, that he was overrated. And when he stumbled in preseason with one brutal stat line, just 3 completions, 5 sacks, and 14 measly yards, the critics pounced like sharks. "See? We told you so," they shouted, ready to bury him before his career even started. Shedeur's new contract outside the NFL was so massive, it reportedly dwarfed what some active rookies in the league are making. And that's exactly what sent the traditional crowd into rage mode. In their eyes, a 5th-round pick wasn't supposed to touch money like that. It felt like he was cashing out before earning it. To them, it was arrogance, a straight slap in the NFL's face. But here's the truth. Shedeur is just flipping the same playbook owners have run for decades. They squeeze every ounce of profit out of players daily, but when Shedeur finally turned the game around to benefit himself, suddenly it's a crime. That's why the hate is so loud. People don't actually hate him. They hate that he beat the system at its own game. And then comes the arrogance tag, a classic NFL smear tactic. Before the draft, whispers flew about Shedeur being too brash, hard to coach, and even that his combine interviews rubbed execs the wrong way. But here's the kicker. Those same execs praise white quarterbacks for the exact same thing. When Joe Burrow shows swagger, it's leadership. When Shedeur shows swagger, it's arrogance. See the double standard? And every ounce of that hate gets multiplied by one man's shadow, Deion Sanders. Primetime isn't just a dad, he's a Hall of Famer, a cultural force, and one of the most unapologetic voices in sports. He's never been shy about calling out hypocrisy in the NFL, the NCAA, or even the media. And that's exactly what owners can't stand. A father bold enough to publicly demand control over his son's career path. That made Shedeur guilty by association before he ever took a snap. Here's the saddest part. A lot of fans want Shedeur to fail. Why? Because if he succeeds, it proves the system isn't invincible, that independence and legacy can win. But if he fails, it validates their belief that you can't beat the machine. And plenty of people are rooting for that outcome. Even Stephen A. dropped hints about it on First Take, pointing out how the narrative sticks no matter what. That's what fans cling to. Until Shedeur silences the critics with undeniable results, every minor stumble will be used as ammo. So why does he attract so much hate? Simple. He's Deion's son. He broke the unspoken rules. He secured the bag before the league wanted him to. He carries himself with confidence. and he isn't afraid to challenge the NFL's power. That mix makes him a lightning rod. And unlike other young QBs who get time to grow, Shedeur Sanders is being dissected in real time, with millions waiting to see him slip. By now, Shedeur Sanders isn't just a quarterback, he's a symbol, a lightning rod for power, politics, and pride inside the NFL's billion-dollar empire. What started as a late-round draft snub spiraled into a headline-grabbing contract, a heated face-off with Stephen A. Smith, and a hate campaign that exposed just how fragile the league's so-called meritocracy really is. Think about it. One rookie dared to step outside the system, and suddenly, whispers of blackballing, double standards, and behind-the-scenes politics are flooding the conversation. The NFL stayed silent, but silence screams louder than words. Fans are now asking, is this just about Shedeur? Or is it about every athlete who dares to demand independence instead of obedience? And here's the kicker. Love him or hate him, Shedeur Sanders has already won something priceless: attention. The NFL can try to downplay him, but his name is trending, his contract is real, and his story has already cracked open a door other players are watching closely. If he succeeds, he rewrites the playbook. If he fails, he becomes the cautionary tale the league wanted all along. Either way, the world is watching every snap, every deal, and every word. So what do you think? Is Shedeur Sanders a trailblazer who outsmarted the system, or a reckless rookie who picked the wrong fight? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.